Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the 2026 OmniBook X Flip 14. It's an HP lightweight 14-inch convertible that effectively occupies the territory of the outgoing Envy X360 line. And wait, don't go away. I know you don't like the Envies. Nobody does. Okay, they were terrible. They were not fun to repair. They looked kind of garbagey and they were kind of trashy in terms of their design. This is not the same laptop. Yes, it takes some of the same design notes from it, but it's a better quality machine, I think, overall than that. And it does do some more sensible, practical things. And by the way, I did buy this for a client. This was not provided to me for review. So I'm going to give you honest opinions about what I like and dislike. First of all, a little quick introduction about the design. This is I think it's called dark espresso color. You can see it does hang on to fingerprints pretty badly, actually. It's one of my first criticisms, although I should really put that in the cons section. But it's 3.1 pounds, so it's relatively easy to carry. It's kind of comfortable to have, kind of goes in a bag pretty easily, and it's got a nice form factor. I really like the ergonomic design here, how you have this like beveled kind of chiseled edge here, so it makes it really easy to pick up off a surface despite the fact that it's already not that heavy. The rubber feet, don't do a really great job keeping it stationary on a surface, but it's good enough. It's good enough. It stays relatively still. Hinges are pretty tight, so I like that. It does have a very glossy touchscreen, so you'll like to have hinges that hold onto the screen pretty well. It does seem to be manufactured by Wistron, by the way. That's one of the major Taiwanese notebook ODMs, kind of alongside Quanta and Compal. It's not necessarily a positive or a negative reliability indicator. The quality ultimately depends on kind of like the design from HP, component selection, cooling system, manufacturing execution, etc. But I just wanted to mention that. And I also do want to mention that our particular unit that I got for this client, I actually did have to do a little repair on it, believe it or not, right out of the box. There was like a plastic piece here that sort of shields the internals from being seen and also probably prevents some dust intrusion and things like that. You can see how it's supposed to be installed on this side. This one over here actually was folded over and I had to take the back off and fold it back down. So not the greatest thing for confidence for the consumer, but overall it was a minor gripe, not anything really major. Oh yeah, let's talk about the ports before we continue. There are two USB-A ports, one on each side. I do like that. There's also two USB-C ports, one on each side. The A ports are 10 gigabit per second and the C ports are 40 gigabit per second. There's also an HDMI and a 3.5 millimeter combo audio jack. So you've got a pretty healthy assortment of ports there for a relatively small laptop. As for the specs, this actually includes the newer Ryzen AI 5 430 processor. It was released in 2026. That has 4 CPU cores, 8 threads. It does have Radeon 840M integrated graphics, which are nothing special, as you're going to see in a bit here. And 16 gigs of RAM at 8,000 megatransfers per second. Which is plenty, honestly. And you probably need more than 8, but 16 is probably enough for most people. It also does have a SanDisk. This one has a SanDisk anyway. Solid state drive. I've seen SanDisk. I've seen SK Hynix. They come from different manufacturers. You win or lose the lottery depending on which one you get to some degree. But overall, it's enough to be qualified as a Copilot Plus PC. This is a 50 TOPS NPU. And then finally, you have Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6. So pretty well outfitted in terms of connectivity. All right, we were talking about the screen. It is a nice panel. This is the OLED panel. It's a 60 hertz 1920 by 1200 OLED panel, but nonetheless, it is OLED and it does have all the hallmarks of an OLED panel, like really deep color, great contrast ratio, infinite technically, since black is effectively off when the pixels are not on. But otherwise, it just looks really good. It's very glossy, but you do kind of get over that. And it's bright enough, I think, to overpower that in most environments, especially in indoor environments. So not too many complaints about that. Okay, and I had recorded a video about this, but apparently it didn't record like I'm a boomer or something like that. So I did do Geekbench 7 on this, and I did get a score of 2302 for CPU single core, which is pretty good. And then a score of 7776 for multi-core, which is, kind of disappointing, I guess you'd say. But it's only a Ryzen AI 5 430, which is a 4-core, 8-thread chip. It's one full Zen 5 core plus 3 lower clocked Zen 5C cores. The main core goes up to 4.5 gigahertz, while the 5Cs go up to 3.4 gigahertz. And it's configurable like 15 to 28 watt TDP. Or 15 to 28 watt envelope. So that naturally produces excellent short burst and single threaded performance, but only moderately good multi-core output. So, and I also want to mention that the GPU scores, I got 13,320, which is actually better than you would expect for the Radeon 840M. I think usually it's around 12,000. But again, it's an integrated GPU, so don't expect to play a lot of games with it. You're not going to be doing a lot of that. That's not what this thing is about. So anyway, just know what you're getting into, and it does a pretty good job. And of course, it is a touch panel, and naturally also this thing is a convertible. Everybody's seen this stuff by now. It's been around for so long, but it has all of the different form factors such as tablet mode and tint mode and all that stuff. Most people don't even use those, but it's cool. All right, so let's get into some pros and cons. First pro, extremely quiet. I know I feel like I say this a lot about a lot of units these days because there are a lot of quiet laptops out there, but this one, even under Geekbench 7, barely made any noise. It's really surprising. I mean, yes, it's an efficiency-focused machine, and yes, we've talked about the processor not being that powerful, but that also goes along with being very quiet. And that's a nice thing to have. It's really good for like an office environment or a classroom. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. The next pro is a truly excellent keyboard, and I mean that when I say it. There was a time recently where this whole zero lattice keyboard fad came into play, and I was not a fan. And I believe it was started, or at least popularized, by Dell and their goofy XPS 13 Plus, for instance, where you had almost no space between the keys. You see how they're all butted up against each other? And that was a recipe for typos. It was just really annoying, even though it looked nice. Looking nice is only part of the equation, right? You have to have something that functions well. Well, it turns out that HP, with their OmniBook X's was doing a similar thing, and I really hated it, and I wasn't buying OmniBook X's largely because of the keyboard, because the OmniBook 7s had separate keys. It was a lot easier to type on than the OmniBook Ultra had separate keys. There was, it was not zero lattice. Well, this one kind of splits the difference. So you can see the keys are still really big, but they have space between them because they're sort of beveled off on the sides. So there's no typo risk here. And in fact, it's really easy to tell when you move from one key to the next. You can feel the margins. Apart from that, it's a very quiet keyboard. Very comfortable to type on. It's very accurate. I'm having no trouble with keyboard accuracy on this. The actuation force and the stop point and all that stuff is really well calibrated. It's a really nice keyboard for a consumer model. And I'm all about good input devices. As for the touchpad, I guess I'll go ahead and mention this now because it's not really a pro or a con, and I think it's specifically this unit that had an issue with it. But one of the buttons on this touchpad is not very reliable. The left click button, I swear to you, sometimes just doesn't register like it should. I'm not really sure 100% where that's coming from. It usually does it when it double clicks. Maybe I need to just power this down and play with it. Whatever the case, other than that, it's an accurate touchpad, and I've had 4 of these units in, and none of the other ones had that issue. So maybe that's more of a commentary on quality control than it is the actual touchpad itself, but I did want to mention that. Anyway, back to the pros here, the official pros. The next thing is it really, truly is aesthetically pleasing. I like how it's kind of understated, it's subtle. I also like how they have, for instance, like this OmniBook engraving here. Do you see this? It's actually just an emblazoned OmniBook logo on the hinge. I think that's a nifty little subtle touch of style. I don't so much like how it hangs onto fingerprints, which we've talked about a little bit already, and you can probably already tell. But you get over that stuff, and I'm sure there's ways to clean it that are better than what I do with it. But regardless, overall, this is a really nice, really kind of sexy color, understated, really good-looking computer. And then the next thing, kind of along those same lines, is the OLED display. The OLED display is truly, really good. It has really nice color, like most OLEDs, all OLEDs, I guess, really, and infinite contrast, like I mentioned. The brightness also seems sufficient. I don't love the fact that it's so glossy, but the hinges are, pretty tight. Like I said, it does a good job of keeping the lid in place so you don't have a lot of vibration if you're on like a train or something like that, or in a car. It's pretty easy to use. It's definitely not as comfortable as like an anti-glare matte display. So, if you're going to be outdoors a lot, maybe look for one of those, especially if you don't need touch necessarily. Although some laptops do provide touch and an anti-glare coating, such as the new Dell XPS 13, which again, you're going to be seeing pretty soon here on my channel because I've got one of those that I'm going to be reviewing as well. And then I should mention this as a pro, even though I don't necessarily have calibrated numbers for you on it. Like most units that I'm reviewing, a lot of them are for clients that I'm purchasing to set up for them. And I've had several of them through the lab, and I've decided I've determined enough about the unit that I should be reviewing it. But I have not really truly been able to test the overall battery life. I'd like to have a unit for like a week or two for that, and I never have them that long for these things. But the battery life does seem really good. This thing is again, very efficient. It just sips power. It doesn't make a lot of noise. It's not super powerful, but it's fine. And the battery life seems to be 10 plus hours as far as I can tell. So I don't want to quote that for certainty, but I do want to say that it goes down very slowly. So that's nice. All right, so let's take this apart and see what's inside. And we'll talk a little bit about what I like and dislike about that. Okay, got all 4 of these screws out. It was a little harder than I expected it to be honest with you. And by the way, this back is a little bit flimsy like we had talked about. It's not very thick metal, so it sort of speaks to what you feel when you touch some of that stuff. But either way, I digress. Let's see what's inside here. So we've got a very large fan connected to the heatsink fan assembly. You do have a modular Wi-Fi 7 card. That's kind of nice and pretty uncommon these days. Usually those are soldered to the board and they're a little smaller these days. You do also have an M22280 form factor NVMe PCIe 4.0 solid state drive, and then a rather large battery here like we talked about. This is a 59 watt hour battery. It does seem to last a long time, so this is, as usual, most of the back. You don't have swappable RAM, of course, that's soldered to the board. It's part of the chipset now, actually. And then you do have these speakers here, and those are just kind of middling, like I mentioned. But that's everything for the inside. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to mention. These screws up here, you can see if you look carefully, they do screw into like a plastic frame underneath. And down here as well. Do you see this? That is what I'm talking about. So there is a durability concern with that. It happens on the Yogas. It happens on a lot of the consumer models that are cheap. They kind of hide some of the cheaper construction internally. Just don't expect to be able to drop or bump this thing a lot without some kind of damage to the case eventually. So first con, and this is maybe a little bit controversial probably, but despite the metal case, I mean, it's fine. Like durability wise, it feels like it could hold up to a little bit, but if you bump it or drop it, this thing's probably toast, okay? It does have a situation internally, which you have seen already from the disassembly portion, unless you skipped over it, that these screws at the top and some other places do screw into like a plastic bracket. What that means is that the first shock that it experiences in that region will break that plastic and will destroy the case, and you will be toast. I mean, like at that point, the thing will start to come apart. That's when you start to have hinges come off and things like that. Bad news, right? Usually it's case breakage, not hinge breakage in my experience. So that's the first negative. Second negative, this kind of rides alongside the OLED display thing, but it is a highly glossy panel, and it is very heavily glossy. Some of these units, such as for instance, the Samsung Galaxy Books, things like that, they have like a bit of an anti-glare coating. Do you see that? So yes, it is glossy for sure, but it's also not so reflective that it's super obstructive. Maybe you can't tell on video here, but these are very bright lights here, and there's not much that it does to diffuse those things. So unlike some of the other competitors out there, it doesn't do much about that. Okay, and this next one, it's a little bit of a nitpick maybe, but the audio on this is really subpar for something of this quality. I mean, when I say of this quality, the MSRP is above $1,000. Maybe that's a little bit ridiculous. You should not be paying over $1,000 for this configuration. By the way, it's $12.99 in case I haven't mentioned that yet. I'll come back to that in a little bit. But the audio lacks bass entirely. Like there is absolutely no low frequency on these speakers.
For the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura.
So it's all the way up right now. I know you probably can't tell.
Can provide relief in
Also, you're probably not interested in these drug ads. Here's some jazz. I mean, it doesn't sound bad. It's just very, very focused on the high frequencies and the mids. I mean, there's a lot of mids in this. Highs are very clear. I mean, to its credit, at high volumes, you don't get a lot of distortion, if any at all, but you also don't get much low frequency. It's just not made for that. So just don't expect music to sound fantastic on this and you'll be fine. And then finally, the last negative is it's not the fastest CPU or GPU. We've talked about that earlier. You're not going to get stellar performance out of this thing. If you're looking for like class leading, photo and video editing, that's not what this is for. It's really not. This is an everyday machine for somebody going to college or for somebody working at the office and doing emails and web browsing or maybe sitting on the couch and things like that. That's what this is for. Okay, don't expect miracles from the chipset, but the chipset is very efficient and it does carry its own set of positives regardless of that. So overall, what do I think about HP's 2026 OmniBook X Flip 14? Well, overall, I'm actually pretty impressed. I mean, for the price that we got it for anyway, which was under $700, which is pretty phenomenal. If you can get it for that price, I would say buy it immediately. It's great. It's a great value. If it's $12.99, it's too much. You should not be paying $12.99 or even $1,000 for this configuration, which by the way, this configuration again is the 16 gig, 512 gig OLED display configuration. It's good, but it's definitely not that good. Okay, now overall though, it's a great computer for somebody who's going to be going to school or working in an office. Want something that's efficient, that has a long battery life, that seems seems to, hopefully hold up to the daily stressors of having it in a bag and things like that. You don't want to, again, drop it or bump it against walls or anything like that too much, because the construction is not a commercial grade construction. But the keyboard is fantastic, I think. I really think it's terrific. Touchpad on most of the units I've gotten, 3 of 4, I think, has been really good. The screen has been very attractive to look at least indoors and when there's not a lot of bright lights around. Again, if glossiness bothers you, this one will definitely bother you. It's one of the glossier displays that I've seen, and it has good brightness, but not terrific. It's OLED, so OLEDs don't usually get as bright as your IPS panels of yours. So overall, though, very impressed. I do think you should look into these things. If you can get them for, say, $700-800 something for this configuration, that's a great deal. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's helped you pick for or against this model. I'm actually just talking about tech that interests me in general on this channel. So subscribe if you like it. I am not sponsored, at least not very much anyway, ever intentionally. And I will mention it when I am. So stick around and you'll see more of this. Thanks for watching.